this morning to the Bridge event. At this time, I'd like to introduce Sandra Espada, who is the liaison from the RAL Northeastern Islands to Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands, and she's also the facilitator for the U.S. Virgin Islands College and Career Readiness Research Alliance. So good morning, Sandra.
Hi, good morning, Peter, and good morning to all of the participants in this webinar session and to our presenters and technical staff. It's really good to have you with us today. And Peter, for having the time there to greet you all and to sort of give you an overview of the webinar technical page. I just want you to remind that we really want you to be active participants, and please use the chat segment of this webinar page or raise your hand for us to see that you want to make a comment. We don't want this to be just us talking to you. We really want to have a lively discussion. There's a special thank that I want to say to Commissioner Donna Gregory from the VI Department of Education and to Assistant Commissioner Sarah Mayher. They have been good collaborators and really great partners in putting this webinar together. They also are active participants of the College and Career Readiness Alliance that the RAL needs host for the VI. And this event is being presented with the sponsor of the RAL-NA and this College and Career Readiness Alliance. So thank you to both. And also a special thanks to Provost McHale from the University of Virgin Islands. She was very interested in this collaboration, and I hope she can join us later or to continue having follow-up discussions with the stakeholders in the VI after we have this webinar. We really want to support collaborations in between the Department of Education and the University of the Virgin Islands. We have two great speakers, as Peter was saying, Dr. Helen Duffy from the College and Career Readiness and Success Center and Dr. Laura Go from the Center of Great Teachers and Leaders. As the agenda, you can see here in the agenda, they will have separate presentations, and we will have, after those presentations, a session to discuss and respond to your questions, hear your comments, and have an interactive dialogue is what we are expecting to have. This is a 90-minute session, and we are expecting to end this session at about 12:30 Atlantic time. So we really expect to use time efficiently here. It is important, I'm sorry, let me go back here to the agenda because I want to highlight to you at the end of the presentation, you will be receiving messages about the stakeholders feedback survey. It will be important for us to receive your feedback, so please be attentive to that, and we will really appreciate if you can fill those survey questions prior to leaving us today. We really take good attention to your comments and suggestions, and we will appreciate your participation in the survey today as well. The College and Career Readiness Alliance has been working with the university, with U.S. Virgin Islands in working on research and providing technical support on topics that are geared to increase the participation of students in the schooling, increasing graduation and retention, and we now want to focus in transitioning them to college and to careers. So this event is an activity that we designed to provide some research on the topic of successful transition to college. We want to have, as I already mentioned, a cross-dialogue between different stakeholders in the jurisdiction to learn about the needs and the challenges, and to use that information to establish work plans for us to be more effective in how to support the territory. And we want also to support you in providing resources to your work. So this is what this bridge event is about. Very quickly, this is the goal that the College and Career Readiness Alliance has established. As I mentioned, we have been working on different activities, studies, and workshops primarily. And I am here describing very briefly the activities that we have conducted during this year. Prior to this, we, on year one of the existence of the Alliance, we decided which research agenda to use, but that has been a continuous effort. So your discussion here with us today would also support the work that we do in refining the research agenda of the Alliance. We completed a data catalog project identifying college-ready indicators, data for college-ready indicators in the VI. And those indicators were basically using some that were recommended by the National High School Center. And we completed that project a couple of months ago. That is available on the Alliance website. Under the realme.org website, you can find the Alliance site, and you can have access to that. Or if you are interested, you can also contact me, and I can provide this information in more detail to you. We also completed a policy brief on college and career readiness efforts and strategies in other jurisdictions. It was really an interesting process to learn that many jurisdictions are facing issues in the area of working toward getting data for assessing how they are doing with the career readiness activities. We did some workshops on data alignment, and the information from the policy brief was used to enhance the workshop's experience. Some of the states that participated in that survey for the policy briefs came to the workshop virtually and had an exchange with stakeholders from the Department of Education. I see in the participants today some of the individuals that attended the data alignment workshop, and from the surveys that we get from them, this was an activity that was appreciated, and I think it helped the efforts of the Department of Education. And the study that is briefly described here is a project that is in progress at this moment, and we expect to have this ready during 2014. And this will provide information to you about what are the strongest predictors for the VI high school graduates to persist, to enroll and persist in college. And we really want to be to be a collaboration effort in between the department and the University of Virgin Islands. So we're looking forward to start this project soon. Now I will leave you with Helen Duffy. Helen, as I said, is the Deputy Director of the College and Career Readiness and Success Center. That is Center housed at the American Institute for Research. And Helen has a doctorate degree from University of California, Berkeley School of Education. She has been a high school teacher, a mediator. She's an adventurer, as I learned from her recently when we had the opportunity to meet face-to-face. And I think you will enjoy her presentation. And after that, I will introduce Laura Go. So Helen, please take it away.
Thank you, Sandra. Good morning, everyone. It's quite early here on the West Coast, but I'm happy to be here and happy to share some of the work that we're engaged in here at the College and Career Readiness and Success Center. So let's see. What is the Comprehensive Center Network? The College and Career Readiness and Success Center, as well as the Center for Great Teachers and Leaders, is part of a federally funded network of comprehensive centers that provide support for education priorities across the country, including the U.S. Virgin Islands. The content centers serve as content experts in areas that have been identified as priorities by the Office of Elementary and Secondary Education. And our mission as the College and Career Readiness and Success Center is to serve these regional centers to build capacity of states across the nation to effectively implement the initiatives for college and career readiness. We do this by serving as a technical assistance hub. We act as a broker of information and resources from across the Federal Technical Assistance Network, as well as other college and career readiness and success-related organizations. As you can imagine, there are a number of people who are working in this space, and one of our roles is to kind of help provide some coherence across a number of different providers. We also develop new knowledge around key college and career readiness and success topics, including creating products and tools, cataloging relevant research and resources, hosting webinars, and sharing information through social media. In particular, we work to coordinate our technical assistance with other federally funded providers, such as the Regional Education Lab research alliances, by participating in activities such as this one today. So thanks again for the opportunity. So I thought I'd begin by just providing a little bit of context for post-secondary transitions and share with you some of the research that we know to be true. Now, this research does not, unfortunately, doesn't include the U.S. Virgin Islands as part of the survey, but MetLife has done surveys of middle and high school students and has found that 93% of them expect to attend college. So those aspirations are there. And we also know that those aspirations cut across ethnic lines. These figures actually compare with only 57% of students 25 years ago who said they expected to attend college. And yet, while so many of those students have aspirations to attend college, we also know that nationwide, 25% of all high school students leave public school before even graduating. And of those who do graduate, only 63% actually enroll in post-secondary institutions. We also know that of the students who do enroll, 52% require remediation when they enroll in two-year colleges. And we know that it's of those students who enroll in developmental education classes, only 9.5% graduate in 3 years. So we have, and you know, similar statistics actually exist for four-year colleges. So we know we have huge leaks in this pipeline. So I guess the question is, why? Why do we lose so many students as they make this transition to post-secondary education? And a number of researchers have suggested that one of the reasons for this disconnect is the fact that the K-12 and higher education systems were historically created to serve different social needs. And these separate systems may have been adequate for our 20th century industrial economy, but we know, and some would argue that in fact they weren't even adequate for that, but we know for sure that these two separate systems are no longer doing the job that they need to for our 21st century global economy. Our economy is changing, and Carnival, Smith, and Stroll have suggested that by 2020, 65% of all jobs are going to require post-secondary education and training beyond high school. And STEM, healthcare professions, healthcare support, and community services are going to be the fastest growing occupations. But they also require high levels of post-secondary education. So I guess, Carissa, I saw that you're the STEM coordinator, and certainly, this is going to have an impact on some of the work that you do. And I just, it's really important now more than ever that youth-serving agencies work to align and coordinate services, so that students actually begin to see this as a single system. The historic divide between K-12 and higher education has resulted in a number of challenges for students. Students are not academically prepared. They're unaware of the post-secondary pathways and requirements. They lack access to non-curricular variables such as the social capital that we know is required for students to understand how to navigate these pathways. These two systems have also resulted in different ways of tracking students, different data systems, a whole host of confusing arrays of exams, including state-mandated assessments, AP, IB, SAT 1 and 2, ACT, in addition to institution-specific placement exams, which often don't even align with those other exams that I mentioned. One study that was conducted in the early 90s by the Southern Regional Education Board documented 125 combinations of 75 different placement exams in the southeastern United States. So, it's really difficult to navigate this vast array of assessment systems. And the other thing to note is that because these two systems have served different needs, they're also governed by different entities, some by regents, boards of education, and there are very few policy mechanisms that address the connections between the two. So what I thought I'd do today is share with you an overview of a practice guide that was published back in 2009 by the Institute for Education Sciences that provided 5 different recommendations to support college preparation for students and to align K-12 and post-secondary institutions. The challenge of post-secondary preparation is really twofold. First, students need to be academically prepared, and the window for ensuring preparation is narrow as students progress through high school. And secondly, students and their families need guidance from knowledgeable school staff, that is, counselors, teachers, other school administrators, so that they take the necessary steps to prepare for and enroll in post-secondary education. And the recommended steps that the people on this panel recommended emerged from characteristics of college access programs, school reforms, and policy interventions that they said have shown some promise in increasing access to college. That panel reviewed the research and concluded that the existing research on post-secondary access can't provide conclusive evidence that support these best practices. However, the reasons for the varying impacts are kind of complicated. For example, many of the interventions that they looked at that promote college access provide a bundle of services, not just individual practices. So, for example, one program doesn't simply offer courses and curricula, rigorous coursework. It might provide rigorous coursework that prepares students for college-level work, as well as engaging them in students in completing steps for college entry. So I think it was difficult for the panel to tease out the sort of level of impact that the What Works Clearinghouse would require in terms of rigorous review. So the programs and initiatives that I thought I'd discuss today are those that combine a number of the strategies recommended by the IES Practice Guide that help prepare a larger number of students for post-secondary success. And each of the practices has implications for the ways in which we prepare teachers, counselors, and school leaders. So I've picked a number of different programs just to talk a little bit about today. Aligned with rigorous, high-quality curriculum, I think probably many people are aware of advanced placement and international baccalaureate. The advanced placement expansion project, which was, I think it was led by the National Governors Association, gave states 3 strategies. One is how to expand access to AP courses. 2 was to build teacher and student capacity. And 3 was to create incentives for schools and students to participate in AP. Most states in the past had allocated their advanced placement dollars primarily to building teacher capacity, but this new effort has really taken a much broader comprehensive approach that combines these 3 strategies. And they've actually found some impact on their efforts. I think that the international baccalaureate programs, I think that the challenges most frequently identified by teachers who participate in IB schools are really around balancing IB programs with state and district requirements, and in particular recruitment and retention of staff who are equipped to teach in the ways that IB programs require. We also know that there are TRIO programs, which is sort of a misnomer at this point, but there are a number of federally funded programs that are designed to provide outreach and services for students from low-income backgrounds, students with disabilities, and first-generation college-going students. Typically, they provide instruction in mathematics, lab sciences, composition, literature, foreign languages, as well as providing tutoring, counseling, mentoring, work study programs, and financial and economic literacy for students and their families. The Gear Up program, Gaining Early Awareness and Readiness for Undergraduate Programs, was established by Congress in 1998 as part of the reauthorization of the Higher Education Act, and it provides grants to states and partnerships among K-12 and higher ed and community organizations to serve students who attend high poverty schools. Dual credit policies are another strategy that states have taken up to try to bridge this gap between K-12 and post-secondary. There's a number of sort of implications of these policies, and those policies address everything from, who can teach which courses to when and which students are eligible to enroll, who pays for credits, where those credits can be earned, which courses are eligible for dual credit and that sort of thing. Early college high schools are actually a form of dual credit. It's supported by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and right now I think there are roughly 270 early college high schools across the United States, and early college high schools attempt to build strong college-going cultures. They're often located on college campuses, and they partner with colleges to provide dual enrollment opportunities for students. And actually, a recently released study of early college high schools found that students who attend them are more likely to graduate, enroll in college, and obtain an associate degrees than their peers. The Puente, let's see, I guess I should say a little bit about bridge programs. There's a number of different kinds of bridge programs accessible to students. Some of those are located on college campuses, providing orientations to students, incoming freshmen. Some of them provide orientations to students while they're still in high school. And there are actually a couple of studies, one of which I think is being done by, or actually I think it was completed by NDRC recently. It's an impact study on developmental summer bridge programs in Texas, and it's an experimental design. The programs didn't have an effect on the number of credits attempted or earned, but students in the program did actually have greater success in persistence. So, and then Puente actually is a program that's located here in California. It was founded in 1981, and the program actually focuses on English language arts and in particular writing instruction, and students move as a cohort through the program through their 4 years of high school. They work with a single counselor through their 4 years. That counselor is typically bilingual. The program targets Mexican American and Latino youth, and provides opportunities for those students to engage with community leaders to develop their own leadership capacity, and encourages them to enroll in and succeed in post-secondary education. That program has not had a rigorous review, but in a quasi-experimental study has been found actually to have an impact on students' enrollment and persistence in post-secondary education. So all of these programs that I've mentioned have implications for what role teachers can play. And schools are also using strategies, instructional strategies that are embedded across the curriculum that improve learning in ways that are designed to prepare students for post-secondary options. Some people have referred to these as deeper learning. Some people call them 21st century skills. They're referred to in a number of different ways. But you'll see that these are mastering core academic content, et cetera. These are some of the aspects of deeper learning. And it's a set of competencies that students must master in order to develop keen understanding of academic content and apply their knowledge to problems in the classroom and on the job. And I think while the Common Core state standards are an important step toward rigorous academic preparation in English language arts and math, we know that being prepared for post-secondary education is a lot more than just academic content. And this deeper learning framework begins to kind of tease out what the other competencies are that might be essential to preparing students to achieve at high levels. So the foundation of deeper learning is really mastery of core content, whether in traditional subjects such as math or in interdisciplinary fields, which merge several key fields of study. But we also know that students learn more when they're engaged in their studies and see them as important. So typical worksheet drill and memorize test prep approach to classroom teaching makes it difficult for students to retain these bits of information they encounter during the school year. So these deeper learning activities draw on a defined knowledge base to which students have been exposed or which they'll be introduced to, and the activities are sort of, in preparation for actually applying the knowledge and what they're learning. So another, in addition to teachers who are kind of being encouraged to teach in new and different ways, counselors also have an important role to play if we're going to enact some of the recommendations of the IES panel. McDonough suggests that no other school professional is more important in improving college knowledge than the high school counselor. And other research has suggested that counselors can encourage college aspirations. They support academic preparation. They guide students through the application process and support family roles in college planning and help ensure that schools create a college-going culture. All of these activities align with the recommendations from the IES practice guide. We also know that P20 workforce councils play an important role, particularly given the fact that K-12 and higher ed systems are typically governed by different entities, and research suggests that this sort of cross-sector collaboration shares a number of different features, including setting clear and attainable and measurable goals, and that these P20 workforce councils work on high leverage points, including things like statewide data systems, alignment of coursework and assessments, state finance, and accountability. The last thing I wanted to talk about was the role of post-secondary partnerships, and I won't have a lot of time to describe the Long Beach partnership, but it emerged out of economic and demographic challenges. in Long Beach. And this partnership between the Long Beach Unified School District, the City College in Long Beach, and the California State University in Long Beach has provided a seamless partnership between those education entities. One of the things that Chris Steinhauser likes to say, he's the superintendent in Long Beach, is he said that the chancellor of the CSU Long Beach came to him wagging his finger to say that the students coming out of Long Beach Unified School District were not prepared for college work. And Chris Steinhauser wagged his finger right back at them and said, but your teachers who are coming from your institutions aren't preparing them for college work. So that sort of conversation began a process where these institutions are really working together with one another to prepare students in a really systematic and seamless way. I just thought I'd list there the website for the College and Career Readiness and Success Center, and I will end here. Thank you.
Thank you, Helen. This is Sandra again. I appreciate the comments that Dr. Morgan has been writing on the chat room. We will have the opportunity to comment on those after we listen to Laura go. Please continue doing that. Dan Mello, Alliance researcher, and I will be attentive to that and come back to your comments and questions for discussion today. Dr. Laura Go is a senior researcher and expert at the Center for Great Teachers and Leaders. The center is also housed at the American Institute for Research, one of the partners to the RELMI. She is a research scientist at the Understanding Teaching Quality Research Group of the Educational Testing Service in Princeton. And Dr. Go is not new to the Virgin Islands. She is currently engaged in a project on the topic of teacher effectiveness that is ongoing in the territory. So I leave with you, Dr. Laura Go.
Hello, everybody. Good morning from wherever you are. I'm up near Princeton, and nice and cool up here today. I'll be back in the Virgin Islands in a couple of weeks, though, so looking forward to some warmer weather there. I am going to be talking about the teacher preparation aspect and teacher quality and effectiveness aspects of the issue of concern here, which is how do we better ensure that our students in the Virgin Islands are adequately prepared and ready to do college-level work. And as we know, there is a cycle in the Virgin Islands where you have a set of K-12 students. They need to make a transition to college. They need to graduate from college. And in many cases, we hope that they will continue back into the teaching workforce. But if the K-12 students are not prepared to do high-level academic work, when they get to college, they are not ready then to absorb and take advantage of the education that the University of Virgin Islands is able to provide. So there's sort of a cycle here where we have to deal with both ends. We have to make sure that the kids coming in to college from the U.S. Virgin Islands are adequately prepared, but that also means we have to work harder to make sure that our teachers are as effective as we need them to be to get the kids to those levels. So how do we do that? Well, here are some possible answers. These are just a few strategies. There are many. But one is to implement teaching standards to guide practice both in teacher preparation programs and in districts. One of the things that we know about success in the mainland states is that they're almost always guided by strong teaching standards, so that in the preparation programs, those who are preparing teachers for this work will be able to ensure that they know what it is that the teachers will be expected to do, so that the teacher candidates know what they're going to be expected to do. And then when they get to the district level and start teaching, they will have some guideposts to say, this is what is expected of me as a teacher. So starting with those strong teaching standards, and that is something that we are working on in the Virgin Islands, and developing standard-based teacher evaluation to guide professional growth. It is important that any type of evaluation system that is going to be implemented in the Virgin Islands has as its goal to improve teaching and learning. And the key to that is making sure that evaluation results are tied to specific feedback, and that that feedback points to professional growth, and that teachers have those opportunities for reflection and growth. And then thirdly, strengthening collaboration between districts and teachers. Teacher preparation in the collection of data to support improvements and ongoing work to make sure that the needs of the districts and the schools are being met, and thus ensure that the candidates coming into the University of Virgin Islands are better prepared to begin their coursework. So we know a lot from Helen's presentation. There are many studies. I actually had several slides worth of studies and realized that was overkill because Helen has already done a great job of presenting that. But one of the things that we want to make sure is that we have this understanding that kids who have access to higher level courses and have the ability to take advantage of those courses are much more likely to be successful in college. They're also much more likely to go to college in the first place. So providing those opportunities is really important. We also know that as early as the 10th grade, if we start looking at achievement results, those who have higher levels of achievement are much more likely to go to college, regardless of race, regardless of social background. If all things are equal in terms of an achievement score, those with a certain academic qualification in terms of their achievement are more likely to go to college and to be successful there. So we need to make sure that we're providing those opportunities. However, we also need to make sure that the teachers are prepared to teach those high-level courses. So preparing highly effective teachers means that we want to have teachers who can demonstrate the knowledge and skills needed to promote student learning. We know that successful teachers have students who demonstrate engagement and persistence in schooling, graduation, transition to college, and so on. And we know that successful teachers have students who demonstrate acquisition and application of knowledge and skills that will contribute to their future accomplishments in college and careers. Now, having been a teacher myself in middle school, I taught in very high poverty areas, very hard to staff schools, many challenges, and that is similar to many of the schools in the Virgin Islands. So I also know that there are a set of influences beyond the schools that make it difficult sometimes to provide the students with what they need, and make it difficult for the students to take full advantage of what we're providing. So there is, a recognition on my part, and certainly many others, that it's not just what the teacher does, it's not just what the teacher preparation program do. But that is why we need to focus on these collaborative efforts where teacher preparation programs work very closely with districts to actually identify very specifically the needs of those teachers in the context of the students they work with, and make sure that they get those needs met. So the last thing there is that teachers who are successful and likely to be reflective, collaborative, professional, and focused on continuous improvement. And it goes without saying they have to know their content. They can be great at collaboration and self-reflection, but if they don't know how to teach algebra or high-level science, then it's not going to be useful for them to be great at delivery if what they're delivering is not what the kids need. So the role of clinical practice in preparing effective teachers is becoming much more prominent. In the past, we have often found that teachers go into the classroom, and certainly I'm an example of one of those, go into the classroom with very poor ability to create a learning environment, to manage students in a way that engages them in learning quickly at the beginning of the year and gets them moving in the right direction. So there are a number of things that we have identified over the years about the need for clinical practice, and one of those things is that if you have teachers who are being prepared for a specific locale, a specific set of students, and a specific set of challenges, the sooner they are introduced to that and get a chance to see how what they're learning in their preparation program actually relates to what's happening in the classroom, and also bring back questions from the clinical practice, bring back questions and comments from the schools and say, here's what happened today, how should I have addressed this? What are the things that I should be thinking about? So the coursework in teacher preparation programs needs to be much more closely connected with the needs and realities of the local schools, and that will help teachers connect what they learn with the challenge of using it. So another piece of this is looking at program effectiveness. If we're looking at teacher preparation programs, and there have been a number of studies and a number of policy documents written lately about program effectiveness, and if we're looking at that closely, one of the things that we have seen is that candidate selection, program content, and program structure are all crucial to program success. Now, the candidate selection piece is been something that's been a real issue in some colleges in the mainland, in particular Louisiana, which was the first to institute student achievement as a measure of teacher preparation programs, found that there were some colleges and universities in Louisiana that were accepting anyone, and that in essence these teacher preparation programs were cash cows for the universities, and their willingness to accept anyone without really caring much about the qualifications and dispositions of those teachers for the profession, that they were doing a huge disservice to the teachers and to the kids. And so they started looking at how can we point out to these colleges and universities that they must be more exclusive in accepting teachers. However, what we also know about the Virgin Islands is that there are actually quite few candidates. The Virgin Islands does not produce enough high school students who can are willing and interested in going into teaching and have the right qualifications for it. So I don't think that the focus in the Virgin Islands should be on candidate selection, but the focus should be then on program content and program structure. By program content, we're talking about what is given to the teacher candidates to learn, the types of coursework that they're taking, and how connected that coursework is to the local needs in the Virgin Islands. And also to pay attention to the structure, such as providing those early clinical experiences and providing a way for them to share what they are seeing in classrooms and bring their questions forward in a discussion type setting. So one of the other things that we need to be concerned about is what sort of data can we collect to guide this process of improving teacher preparation and tying it closely to the needs of the Virgin Islands. The National Research Council outlined the ideal collection of data with which to determine program success. And you will see, I'm not going to read it to you, it's quite a long list. It seems like they're asking for all sorts of crucial data, and they want all of this data to be linked together in ways that you can analyze data on students, data on schools, data on the preparation program and the candidates together so that you can make some discoveries and come up with some strategies related to how preparation programs are working, and also the successes of those teachers, what they need more of, what their students need more of, and so on. That is a long ways off for many states, and certainly the Virgin Islands is one of the places which is not yet ready to provide that kind of longitudinal connected data. So we will probably need to start a bit slower in the Virgin Islands and in terms of the types of data that's collected and how to do that. So for the Virgin Islands, I would suggest that there are a limited set of data collection goals for now. And for the time being, one of the things that can be collected is surveys and interviews of teachers supervising teachers and principals. Now, given the small number of teachers that are produced each year, it's possible that interviews would be the best strategy because with surveys, you're actually looking at a number of teachers. Now, the one place surveys could be useful is in surveying all teachers in the Virgin Islands, including teachers of all levels of experience and teachers who were certified outside of the Virgin Islands. So teachers who are imported from the mainland or even from other countries. How do they see their teaching and their preparation and their current level of ability to provide the kids with what they need? How do they see what their needs are, things that they need to focus on as teachers? So those sorts of questions are things that could be answered by all teachers. So that's where a survey would be particularly useful. The interview part, though, for newly prepared teachers would be extremely useful, I think, because it would not only give them a chance to provide direct answers to questions, but it would also give them a chance to raise issues that are not necessarily in the survey, in terms of what they're looking for, what they think they need. So, for example, Missouri does a survey every year of their new teachers, first and second year teachers. And every year for however many years it's been going on, 10 years or so, they have found that the two things that the new teachers identify as wishing they had more of and wishing they were better prepared for were classroom management and differentiating learning. This has been the same every year. Now, what that suggests is that teacher preparation programs in Missouri need to pay more attention to that finding. How do we better prepare teachers to be secure in their first few days of class, to set up a structure for classroom management and a learning environment that engages all of the students, to create lesson plans that are engaging, to avoid having any initial behavior problems, et cetera. So there's a lot of strategies that will help teachers to be better at classroom management, the same with differentiating learning. So if we can look at the information we're being provided by teachers about what they are struggling with in their first couple of years, that would be helpful information to the teacher preparation program. Also, teacher evaluation results aggregated and stripped of identifying information can also be useful. So we certainly don't want a feedback loop where direct information about specific teachers goes back to the University of Virgin Islands. But what we do want is to have aggregated information about the success of these teachers and the challenges that these teachers have would be useful to the preparation programs. And then observation of teaching practice by professors and preparation program coordinators would also be extremely useful in examining areas that appear to be where teachers are having great success and areas where they're less successful. Teachers' reflection on practice. That's another place where it would be very helpful to know what the teachers are encountering and experiencing and how that information could be useful to the preparation program. So what do you do with this feedback? One of the things that I discovered in another state that I worked with is that they did collect survey information and even did some phone interviews, but then I asked them, well, what do you do with that information? And the odd thing is they said, well, we had a staff meeting, we talked about it. And I said, okay, and then what? Well, then, we put the information in a drawer. So it doesn't do us a whole lot of good if it doesn't actually impact the teacher preparation program. So gathering data comes with a responsibility, and that responsibility is to pay attention to the data and actually think about how the program can be addressing those needs that are shown in the data. So here are some examples of things that might be collected from data and might lead to specific changes. So you see that classroom management is an issue, learning environment is an issue. So how do you help your teaching candidates create a learning environment and classroom management strategy that engages students and gains their cooperation? Another one, using formative assessment strategies that enable teachers to check for all students' understanding and make timely and appropriate instructional adjustments. One thing we know about classroom management and student behavior is that students who are engaged typically don't misbehave. If they are engaged in the lesson, if they feel that they're a part of the class and a part of what's happening in the classroom, they're less likely to be doing something that is not conducive to their learning or that of others. So formative assessment strategies are one way to get all students engaged. because they ensure that nobody gets left out. If you're only calling on the students in the classroom who are raising their hands, chances are there are going to be students who feel like they're not really part of what's happening. So formative assessment strategies, including calling on students at random and other different strategies like that, can help you check for understanding and make adjustments immediately. Building communities of practice with other teachers and engaging in collaborative activities such as observing and being observed. The best professional development I ever got as a new teacher was observing another teacher teaching my worst kids. I was, along about October, I was at my wit's end and thinking that I could never be a teacher, and also thinking that it was really the kids, that these kids were just impossible to teach. They had too many challenges, too many problems. At the time I was teaching special ed, so that was sort of an additional issue. But what I discovered was that another teacher who taught my same group of kids, when I went in to observe, those kids were doing great. They were terrific. They were learning. They were engaged. They were behaving. There were no issues with their ability to work closely with that teacher and collaborate with each other. And I realized then that it wasn't the kids, it was me, that there was something I was missing in terms of my own education and my own understanding of what to do in the classroom. So I spent a lot of time observing other teachers, talking to other teachers about their practice. And that's one of the things that could be encouraged in teacher preparation, is to start that early in the clinical practice, to start those conversations early. So one of the things that we also have to consider is that the type of data collected there is going to be pretty small, because you only have a certain number of teachers prepared each year. There's only so much you can find out about the teachers in the program. So you're really looking at trend data. You're looking at change over time. So you're going to understand the needs of the district over time, not in 1 year, but collecting information and collecting more information each year as data becomes more available, as data becomes more able to be linked across different types of data, using that over time to see trends develop and see improvements, and also areas that are not improving, so that you can use that information, even though you have small cohorts at first, you can use that information over time to identify areas where more work is needed. And finally, student outcomes as a measure of teacher preparation. That's not going to happen in the Virgin Islands for some time. It is happening quite routinely now in the mainland. Most places are considering student outcomes as a measure of teacher preparation. A few states have been doing it for a number of years. I've worked with Texas, Missouri on their approach to this. Louisiana has been doing it for about 10 years now. So it is something that is probably in the future for the Virgin Islands, but probably a long way off. But student outcomes in the aggregate can be useful at some point when that does happen, to look at program and see how well prepared teachers are to help students achieve at high levels. And just one more slide to show you sort of what is happening in the Virgin Islands right now around teacher and leader evaluation. The task force called VITAL or Vitally, it's pronounced in many different ways, but what it is the Virgin Islands Teacher and Leader Evaluation Task Force. We've been working since June of 2013 to determine how to support effective teaching through the development of a standards-based teacher and leader evaluation system. The task force has met 3 times now. We have representatives from the school board, from UVI. We have both unions, teacher and leader unions represented. We have teachers, and we have counselors, and we have principals. So it's a well thought out strategy for designing this system with the task force that is very representative of the Virgin Islands in terms of the diversity and needs of the Virgin Islands. So the results of this effort are going to be adoption of teacher and leader standards. We've actually just accomplished that at the last meeting and have adopted standards and are moving forward with those. Identification of appropriate measures of effective teaching practice. We are still working on those. We are pretty much settled on some of the main measures and are considering supplemental measures so that we will have a true multiple measure system. And then we're going to look at the adoption and creation of the measures, setting the business rules, creating a document that explains the processes, and so on. And then training, piloting, and field testing measures, which will actually begin next year. which will then be used to consider how these measures are working, how the training and processes used with them are working, and we will go from there. So we're very excited about the work. The task force has been terrific and very hardworking, and we have another meeting, like I said, in a couple of weeks, and then a final meeting in December before we start the implementation of the pilot next year. So I look forward to your comments and questions, and I will turn it back over. Oops, one more thing. Continuous, sorry, I missed a slide, continuous improvement, but I will let you read that on your own at a later time. The slides are available, as you know, elsewhere.
Oh, I think we're fine. If you want to say something more about that slide, Laura, because it seems like an important topic.
Okay, it's just the idea that this is for everybody involved, teacher prep programs for teachers, schools, leaders. Everyone should be thinking about collaboration and thinking about continuous improvement, not one-time efforts, but efforts that involve collecting data, analyzing data together preferably, not sitting alone at the UVI or sitting alone at the district office, but working together collaboratively to look at data and talk about how the preparation programs are meeting needs to provide teachers and how the schools are producing students who can be teaching candidates, who can be better prepared academically to take on the work of becoming teachers. And that's it. I'll turn it back over to you, Sandra.
Thank you, Laura. And also to Helen, and thank you to the participants that have been patiently waiting for this session. I want to while Helen and Laura were talking, I was asking questions out of my curiosity and in interest in learning more of what's going on in the VI. And Dr. Morgan was very collaborating, and she was providing us with some information that I think it will be great to explore a little bit further. When Helen was presenting, she was providing information about some strategies and programs that are available to support the bridge in between students in high school and college. And Dr. Morgan told us in her comments that there are a few projects going on in the VI, and I asked Helen to open that.
You were asking about some of the programs that we collaborate with the district. And I'd mentioned the writing project and also some of the STEM work in the NOICE grant.
Yes, and I would like to learn more about what's involved in those projects, and if you have information or can share how they work, what kind of linkages are in between the districts and the university, and some challenges and so on, and good stories that you can share about that.
Sure, I'll be happy to. One of the programs that was mentioned was the writing project, and Dr. Valerie Comby is director of the writing project. She is a professor at the university, and there is a summer institute each summer, to which teachers from the school district are invited for, I believe it's a month, 4 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks. They come together and very much like writing projects across the country, share work. They explore not only the writing process, but thinking through writing and looking at expository work through writing, expression. They have elementary, middle, and high school teachers who are invited and who form lasting relationships, of course, and not only through the university, but also in their schools. They go back to their schools and also build relationships within the schools around writing. So that's one of the programs. We also have a NOICE grant it's designed to work with secondary teachers in science and math, and we have been working on ways to engage some of our students in teaching, as well as looking at the components of a master teacher, and that's still work in progress. We also have a P16 collaborative, which is headed by Dr. McHale, the provost, and it includes a number of people who are looking at, with the school district, also Dr. Mayherd, I believe, is co-chair, and looking at various programs that are between the school district and the university, as well as any joint proposals that might be developed, and any initiatives that we may do to enhance and strengthen teacher education in the Virgin Islands.
Thank you. Helen, do you want to comment on that? And I also want to mention, Dr. Morgan, and to other participants, that one of the lines of the work plan that the College and Career Readiness Alliance is developing for the next year is precisely on enhancing the work on the P16 initiative that it's ongoing at this moment in the VI. And Helen is supporting us with that, so maybe we can anticipate some of that work as well, Helen.
Sure. So one of the, thanks for sharing that information, Dr. Morgan. It's really great to know. And I think, you know, one of the powerful components of the partnership that I mentioned in Long Beach Unified School District is this kind of an early assessment program. So what they've managed to do is they've embedded some assessments items in a state-level assessment test that juniors take in high school. And these items are items that universities have agreed are indicators of readiness for college-level work. And in Long Beach, the students take this assessment as a junior, and they, based on their performance on the test, get immediate feedback on their level of preparation. And if they aren't quite prepared, Long Beach enrolls those students as seniors in a special English or mathematics course in their senior year. And that course is then designed to kind of accelerate their preparation. If students, the university has agreed that if students pass those courses with a B or better, they do not even have to take the placement exams if they enroll in the City College of Long Beach or CSU Long Beach. So those kinds of conversations, that's not an easy conversation to have across these two systems, but it's something that Long Beach, through this partnership, has managed to accomplish. So yeah, those kinds of cross-institution partnerships are really, I think, effective and worthwhile.
Sure. The fact that you mentioned the bridging program also, we have a bridge program. We also have 4-H on campus, as well as, matter of fact, there's a 4-H conference today for young people, and we have the Man Up conference, to which we invite young men from middle school and high school to workshops, and it is basically sponsored wholly in terms of the work by the young men at the university who are part of Brothers with a Cause, and they have a speaker. One of our speakers was Dr. Ben Carson, one of the past speakers, but they have a world-renowned speakers, and they come for the day, and we feel that in order to make an impact on the community and engage young people and interest them in college life,
that it has to begin that early.
Yes, I think that's true. I think the example I also shared, the Puente project here in California, is an example of a similar effort, I think, where students are actually invited onto college campuses early in their high school careers. But I think you're right. It does need to begin. It does need to begin early to try to develop the kind of college-going aspirations, and for students, for young people to see that there are people who are like them who go to college.
Yeah, it's really very successful, and it reminds me of the Shuttle Students, which is put on by the Student Government Association for elementary school students who come to UVI for the day, and they go to workshops, and they meet teachers, and they have a campus experience, which has been very successful as well. You know, for our students as well as the elementary school students who are here, seem to enjoy it.
There is another issue that I get from from your comments and the remarks of the presenters, and it's like the need to enhance the data that is available to assess if these initiatives are being effective. And I was wondering if there are any talkings in particular about this that the participants at this webinar are aware of. I know there is a longitudinal data initiative ongoing, and actually today that group were having a meeting, and some of the participants that we invited were not able to make this. But are you aware of any particular challenges or ongoing efforts on gathering data that will be useful for the university and the department to assess how the students are doing and how the programs can be supported for the students to have better results?
Well, I know that there's some data being gathered from the beginning of the Bridge program, for example, and from SOS, to try to determine whether or not these activities influence attendance or influence their coming to UVI. I believe that the data has been positive that they do go on to college. In terms of whether it is the Virgin Islands or not, sometimes that has to do with, it has to do far less with, you know, their desire to go to college or their desire to come to UVI, which is an excellent university. In some cases, the students at that age just want to get away because they live on an island and they just want to go to the States and experience something different. However, we do have a number of students who stay.
So
so far,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yes, there is, as I said, there's some data being collected. At this point, I don't know that it's been gathered for long enough. We do have assessments in place. So much of what I'm talking about now, of course, is anecdotal.
Yes,
but I know it's being collected.
Thank you. Any reactions to that from Laura or Helen or both?
No, I think that was very clear. Thank you very much, Dr. Morgan.
I just wanted to add that, you know, I think these feedback loops are really essential if we want to change the way we see the education system. So, you know, one of the things that, you know, the programs and interventions that that I mentioned are while they may have an impact, they're having an impact in a sort of limited way. They don't really change the way we do business as a system. They're interventions that are having an impact on a oftentimes limited number of students. And I think from my perspective, one of the things we need to think about is how we can operate in smarter ways as a system, and the kinds of feedback loops where high schools are learning about how their students, how their graduates are performing and persisting in post-secondary education contexts, and where schools of education are learning about how their graduates are performing as teachers in the K-12 system. I think those feedback loops are really essential for us to really have an impact on the education system. So I just wanted to add that.
Thank you. I am not getting any more questions from the participants, so I am wondering if Laura can have, do you have something in your presentation that you want to use the opportunity to stress out?
I think that probably the last slide, the continuous improvement, what I have seen that is not productive is spending a great deal of time and energy and money to collect data which then doesn't get talked about, doesn't get used in any meaningful way. So, you'll write a grant, you'll get some dollars, or you'll get, some ability to collect some important data, and a lot of time and effort goes into that. But then using that and, talking about it and finding ways to use that information to look at continual change rather than a one-time effort is crucial. So when you're thinking about collecting data and using data, one of the things that you need to be thinking about is the long-term strategy, not a focus just on, how do we do the survey or how do we do these interviews, and, putting great effort into developing the instruments and the processes, but not as much effort into what to do with the data afterwards in terms of putting together a task force to examine the data and consider its implications for both preparation and for schools and districts. That's the area where this feedback loop, this continuous improvement cycle needs to be thought about is early on in the process, not when you've got the data and say, okay, now what do we do? But actually creating a plan and a strategy for who's going to be at the table and how we're going to use this information, and consider what information to collect next. As I said, the Virgin Islands is in a very early state of being able to collect and use some of the data that is going to be available in future years. And when you consider the data collection efforts, one of the things to consider is what is the data that we need that we don't have now? And, in that way, sort of prioritizing where to go next in terms of data collection efforts at the district and for the entire Virgin Islands. What are the sorts of things that we want to prioritize and that we will find useful? And sort of lastly, the evaluation data from teachers, I think, is going to be enormously helpful to thinking about teacher preparation programs and their effectiveness in producing teachers who are going to be able to help kids learn at high levels. Because one of the things that we know from evaluation currently, some of the very early research in all of these evaluation systems that are being implemented all over the United States right now, is that they actually are having some impact in terms of teachers paying more attention to aspects of the evaluation that are crucial to the implementers. So in other words, if there are things that we want our kids to do, if you put those into the evaluation system and make sure that you as an evaluator and you as a teacher are paying attention to those things, and then looking at the results from that evaluation effort and considering where change needs to happen, where more intensive work needs to be done, that's going to enable both the preparation programs and the schools to focus attention on specific needs. So when you adopt, for example, teaching standards, they're big. There's a lot of them. There, are many details in those standards. But the Virgin Islands can think about what are the key things here that we care about and focus on those in the evaluation and make sure that teachers are focusing on those and that preparation programs are focusing on them as well.
Thank you, Laura. Let me remind, we're close to finishing this session, but there is the survey is already available for participants to respond to that. Please do so while we continue talking here. There is something. If I can go back to the slides that shows the current work that the College and Career Readiness Alliance is doing for the VI, or not for, with the VI. I must be correcting myself. We have been trying to, in collaboration with the Department of Education most of the time, to contribute to the work of determine what are the needs in terms of the data collection, what are those indicators that will be most effective for the jurisdiction to support the work that the department is doing, and hopefully that the VIVIS project, the longitudinal data system, will hopefully start working with. So we have been trying to support that work. And for those of the participants today and other colleagues that you might know that are interested in this work, these reports are available on our website, and they show how which data is currently available and which is not. So this is an opportunity to speed the process when you are developing your own evaluation projects, to see if you will have the needed data to do your evaluations on your initiatives. This hopefully can contribute to that as well. We also have an additional data catalog that will be developed soon. Among the participants today is Angela Estacion. Angela is involved in that project. I don't know if you are able to raise your hand, Angela, and talk a bit, or just chat and send to the participants your some information about the next catalog you will be working on. So there are a few initiatives, is what I'm trying to say, to support the work in terms of data collection and utilization for assessing what's happening and have a better idea of how the students in VI can be supported and graduation be increased and their success in college be also increased. I have a question here from Kathleen. She's asking if these slides are available. Yes, they are at the website. You can go there, Kathleen, to the website where you log into this webinar, and the slides are available. And also, there are a few slides at the end here that we haven't get to them, but the references that Dr. Duffy and Dr. Go use for their presentations are included in this PowerPoint. And if you have additional questions of any particular topic of your interest, you can contact me at the PowerPoint. Our email addresses are included, and I will certainly be happy to assist you in getting the information that you want. So please fill out the surveys if the presenters want to have a final word, because we're really now approaching the time of closing the webinar. Laura and Helen, you want to say something, final remarks?
Hi, thank
Thanks
you.
so much for participating.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to, I wrote in the chat, Carissa, if you want to send me your email address, please let me know where I can send you some information regarding the question you asked about counselors. So I'm happy to, happy to do that. Oh, there it is. Thanks. Okay.
Yeah. This is the website. But feel free to contact us at any time. The organizations that we represent are really here to support the work that you do. So we love to get your requests for information and support. So feel free to contact us anytime. And as I say, our email addresses are on the PowerPoint. And if
Thanks so much, Sandra. I think this concludes the Bridge webinar today. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you. Have a great day.